best-selling author on Amazon, Priscilla Pfeiffer, live in the building with her amazing book that we have right here, You Don't Matter, or Do You? We're going to deep dive into this book and talk about spark. And a couple of snippets of in the book we're going to talk about, but you know how we usually do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do a first an affirmation and talk about that, and then we'll get into the book and some of this life story and this journey of what you've been going through in your life and what drove you to start this book and how it's changing lives, you know? So we're going to talk about that. Let's pick a card today. Today's affirmation says, all is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come. I am safe. What are your thoughts about that affirmation today?
I love that. I love that. I think we can get caught up in hi everyone, by the way. Hello, and thank you for having me. No, I like that affirmation because I second guess from time to time, like, am I treating my body right? Am I doing all the right things? Am I drinking enough water, eating the right things, doing enough workout? We get over we overthink, am I doing enough, for myself? And that's a confirmation of that. So I love that.
Wow. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. I know you have a busy schedule. Also, she's an amazing TED Talk speaker and performer doing amazing work in the industry and
Thank
changing
you.
lives. And in this book, we talk about being a catalyst also for yourself, because sometimes people walk around wondering, do they matter? What is their voice? Why what is their purpose in life? But this book breaks down that you do matter and how you can be the catalyst of change through your work or just by showing up that you are loved. And
Yes.
this book actually makes you feel held, especially if you feel like you're alone in
Mm.
this world. This is definitely a book that executives, individual, anybody can use in their stream of work. Um, and before we get deep into the book, first of all, we want to ask, what was that pivotal moment in your life that you said, I'm ready to write this book? This is the moment.
Hmm. Well, I would say that the pivotal moment happened before writing the book. And I didn't even know I had a book in me, really.
Mm,
But the pivotal moment that I had a voice, I'll start there,
okay.
was when I was afraid of public speaking. And it started at my grandmother's funeral. She was the most influential person in my life. She raised me, and I couldn't get up to speak at her funeral. And it killed me. I'm like, I'm too afraid to speak for the person that loves me, like that cared for me and raised me. That was it. That was like the last straw. I'm not going to allow fear to stop me from doing what I meant to do. So that kind of started a mission in myself to go towards the things that fear me the most, because they were stopping me from getting to where I need to be. And I think that happens with a lot of people. I think the thing you fear most is the compass that you need to be going towards, because it's the challenge that when you get over that hill, you're going to grow the most, and you're going to be able to get towards your mission quicker after you surpass that. And so after doing this public speaking, practicing, the real pivotal moment for me was when I was like, okay, well, what am I going to speak about? Okay, well, let me speak about something I'm passionate about. And at the time, and right now, like at the time, I just learned about child sex trafficking,
Mm,
and it tore me up. I mean, everyone's got, some people, like, they support animals, some support, foster children. And those are all amazing things. We all need people with the heart for all of those areas. For me, it was the child sex trafficking. It just ripped me apart. And so I wanted to start speaking about that. And I was very new to speaking, and some of the audience, and with my little voice at the time, like, I didn't think I had much influence, and just little me saying, just speaking. Someone was in the audience that day. It was a probably 18, and he saw me speak, and he had no idea that this child sex trafficking even existed. And he said, "Wow, thank you for shining a light on this. I had no idea this was going on." And then years go by and I get a message from him on Facebook. And I'm like, I don't even know how he found me. Like, because we weren't friends before this. And he joined the Navy to begin training to become a Navy SEAL
Wow.
because he knew that the organization that rescued children uses current and former law enforcement and military to go on the undercover operations. And he wanted to be boots on the ground and rescuing them. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Okay, so look at that ripple effect. Like, it started with fear. It took me taking the action towards my fear and then being that little bit of influence for that person. And now, how is that going to ripple to other people? It gets
Mm.
mind blowing. And it all started with me thinking, what voice do I have? And so that opened up more doors that I'm like, it motivated me. I'm like, okay, if I can help that person, how many more people can I help? And then that started the TED Talk. And then right after the TED Talk, I thought, you know what? Right before I did the TED Talk, a friend of mine, he goes, I tell a friend of mine, I think I could do a TED Talk in about 6 months. I think I could be ready in about 6 months. And he said, 6 months? He's like, Priscilla, you mean to tell me if TED Talk called you and wanted you to have a talk in 2 weeks that you would turn them down? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So he's like, if you can do it in 2 weeks, then make it happen. I'm like, okay, you're right. You're right. All right. So I submitted for the TED Talk and I got it. And I was shocked because I thought, I would have to submit so many times. And I was blessed to be able to get it on the first try. It was amazing. And I'm like, okay, so if I use that same system, if that worked for me, like going towards my next project, my next goal, without overthinking, overcomplicating how long it will take, then I'll reach it faster and I can use that momentum to keep doing more projects and doing more things and reaching more people. So if that worked for the TED Talk, then I'm going to do it for my book because what's comfortable is giving myself a year to do it. What's
Mm.
really challenging is writing it in 6 weeks. And I wrote it in 6 weeks. And I made it happen. I'm like,
And that's phenomenal because a lot of people, you say 6 weeks, they're like, what? How? And another thing a lot of you don't know, she is a fellow Pisces. So we gotta send lots of love with that. And it's so much of your drive, your momentum, even though with you feeling at that moment in your life that you had a small voice, it turned out to be a roar, a big voice to change and be a catalyst for so many different
Mhm.
people. And in this book, you're showing people that they can do this too. But once again, as we talk about the things, if we don't do it within ourselves, within our lives, then we cannot be the testimony for others, but you're walking in it and you're showing people to trust the process and trust yourself in your life journey, and you can apply that to anything. And if you put your mind to it,
Yes.
they said if you build it, they shall come. And you did it. You did the book. And what was going on in your mind while you were compiling it and putting this book together in
You
those
know,
moments?
I'd be lying if I didn't I'd be lying if I didn't say there were doubts. Like,
Mm,
will this help anyone? Um, will anybody read it? Is anybody going to enjoy reading it? And that's natural, but I couldn't sit in it, you know, recognize it and then just let it go. Okay. That's just the thoughts coming. Just let them go. Just let them go. And I had to decide. It was a decision. No, this is the date I'm going to do it. I'm going to touch lives. I'm going to help people. And through that, I think my heart poured into that book, you know, and not everyone's going to love it. People don't love, everyone doesn't love Mother Teresa either. And that's okay. But a lot of people have been loving it and
yes.
telling me that it's been touching their lives and telling their friends about it and telling their coworkers that you got to read this book. I mean, I get chills just saying that because I'm like, wow, again, my voice, it's confirmation. Keep going.
Yes. And I just want to read this, even just like the intro steals your heart. And this is a message you said: for my beautiful sisters, know that I see potential in you and I want your eyes to be open to discover for yourself. Dare to dream bigger, have the courage to take risks, develop the discipline to take action, act in spite of fear, set your goals higher than your comfort zone will have you believe. Show love no matter how much the world tries to break you. In the best of times and the worst of times, remember to look up. I love you. That is so beautiful. And I cried a little bit when I read that, because this is just opening the book. You feel the love and the warmth and the kindness you put into someone that's going through life and just feeling lost. There's a bit of, of like, I got your back.
Mhm.
And you feel this in the book. And like we said earlier, there's a quote you have in there. It says, what you want to ignite in others first must burn inside yourself, which is true. And you are the walking and living testimony that this, if we apply the same system to our lives, we can bring change and we'll be
Mhm.
seen and heard. So many people are
Yeah.
in silence or their voices are not being heard. Um, and that leads us to this thing called the spark. Let's dive
Yes.
into, talk to us about the spark.
Yes. So the spark process came from a large part me dissecting how do I successfully get to where I've been? What's the process that I've used to get to where I want to be? What's the process I'm using to write this book? I asked myself all these things. And how can I put that into a system that I can put in this book and that other people can follow that are easy? Because
Hmm.
if you make it easy, if you okay, because you know what? First of all, the book is about 230 pages, I think. And I'm like, I don't want to write a big book. I don't want a thick book because it's going to overcomplicate it. And I wanted to get to the point. And I had an editorial review that said when they read it, it was like it was a software. What did they say? Oh, I should have memorized it. It was like a software install. As you're reading it, it's just automatically just coming in. And without even having to think about it, you're just starting to live these concepts. And I'm like, that's exactly what I was going for. Exactly that, where you don't have to be like, what was that complicated system that what was that one step? No, I just want it to be easy so that it's the easier it is to implement, the more likely more people will do it and the more likely people will be impacted to be able to impact others by that. And
Exactly.
so that's where it started. And really the spark process is it's 5 steps. So the book is divided into 5 parts. And I won't give too much away because, I want you to read it. But that's basically what it outlines is, how to from start to finish, how to get to your goal and how to create that ripple effect in your life and be the impact for other people's lives.
And it is. There's a couple of places where I was like, ooh, there's some juicy stuff in there. And there's a place where we talked about being comfortable with being uncomfortable in certain
Mhm.
spaces in your life. But this poem that you wrote about your spark is very beautiful. Is it okay for me to read this poem?
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay. This poem is called Your Spark, by Priscilla. And it says, there are pieces of your life that create a fire within, that when sparked begins to light up. The hair rising on your back of your neck when you hear a song is that spark. Your heart pounding when you dance to your own drum is the spark. The chills when you've been moved and inspired is the spark. There will be people that will try to dim it. There will be experiences that will say you can no longer light it. There will be an internal dialogue that tries to snuff it out, but it lights your fire. And when your fire is glowing, the impact of that fire spreads far and wide and will begin to light others up. Don't let the world blow it out. Keep shining your light. Ah, beautiful.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. And that's a bit of the intro into Spark. And like she said earlier, there's several different levels to this and how you apply it to yourself. There was one, we're not gonna go through the whole book, but we're gonna go through this area of the book, number 7. It says, the circle you keep, the
Mm.
candle snuffers.
Yes. That's
Mm,
a big one.
woo. And I think that the candle snuffers, as we talk a little bit about that, as we're going through our journey, as we're healing, as we're developing, we start realizing our circles change. As we change and we heal and we see people in a different manner, or some people are moved into different categories than what they were before.
Mhm.
So talk about the candle snuffers, and a little bit about that, and what that meant to you in this book.
Yes. So I call this candle snuffers are the people that blow your light out. They're snuffing your candle. It's like the, if you've ever seen those little dome-shaped things on a stick and you put it over a candle and it puts the candle out. And
Yeah.
that's what I envision. Those people that are just those domes that are covering you, making you go out. They think they're protecting you like a dome over you, but they're not. They're putting your fire out. And they mean well, but they're harming you. And then there's the fire lighters, the
Mm-hmm.
fire igniters that light your fire.
Yeah.
And a large part of that came from when I started speaking and I realized that I wanted to do this as a profession.
Mm-hmm.
And I told a friend of mine, and her response, which I talk about in the book, was, what have you done? What,
Wow.
what, I mean, people who are speakers like climb Mount Everest or, went to the moon, like, what have you done? And, you know, that it hit me. It hit me hard.
Yeah.
And it gave me more doubts than I already had. And I'm like, "No." And it was a decision to say no in my head, and I chose there's one of 2 things you could do with people like that. You
Okay.
could tell them how you feel, like, "I don't agree with you. This is what I'm gonna do." You could try to sway a person to make them feel like, because that's really them doubting their own potential, and they're putting it on you. And so it's because that person didn't feel like she's reached her potential or doing what she really wants in life. And she's trying to unintentionally, unconsciously slow me down. And that's really what's happening under the surface
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously. I believed. I don't think it was conscious for her. And so you could explain that to a person, but I mean, if a person isn't there, if they're not in like that growth mindset, they're not ready. They're not gonna be ready for that message, and it's just going to look like judgment from your part. And you've gotta just make that decision, depending who you're speaking to, and in that moment, I was like, "She's not ready, and that's not where she's at." And I'm just gonna have to quietly start to depart our relationship as being so close, as being someone that's in my inner circle. And, I don't hold a grudge, I'm not angry, and we talk from time maybe every couple years, but you're over there and I love you from afar. It's just you're not in my inner circle anymore. I've grown and you're not growing. So,
Yeah, and that happens in life, as we're
yes.
growing and as we're changing, sometimes we have to let things go. And they always say that people come for a reason and for a season, they say, you know,
Yes.
um, and with that growth, we learn and we develop. And if you
Yes.
had like 3 things to like advice in regards to someone that read this book, what kind of advice would you say to an individual that's going through life trying to figure it out? What 3 top things would you say that they should know and they should carry with them?
That's a good question. Top 3, let's see. You know what's funny? It just came to my mind. The song, Don't Stop Believing.
Believe. Yes. Oh my
And I'm
goodness.
like, you know what? I'm just gonna go. What just came in my mind, and that's the song.
We're gonna add that to the playlist. Yes.
But truly, it's I couldn't stop believing what was possible for me
Mhm,
in all of these pivots that were happening.
mhm,
I don't. In the book, I talk about how because I was an entertainer for most of my life, a professional dancer, and there was a time when the doctors said I would never dance again because I had torn my knees, and there were many pivots in my life that I had to question which direction I was going. And would I be able to do anything that filled the passion and love I had for dance? And it in the beginning stages, I thought nothing will. Nothing I ever do will feel the love and passion for the stage ever. And I talk about it in the book, but the the reason why dancers love being on stage, it's not the applause, it's not the ego. It's a lot of it being we're able to be that little bit of light and laughter and enjoyment and entertainment to the audience, even for that hour. Maybe those people are grieving, maybe they just went through something, maybe they just had a breakup. And for that hour, they are forgetting about it. Where I'm able to bring them away from that. And so that bringing the light to someone in that way, I didn't think was possible in another way.
mm,
Boy, was I wrong, right? And you have to have the courage to explore what those areas are,
mm,
and believe that it's possible for you to find something else, whether you're in a pivot. And everyone's going to be in a pivot in some type at some point in life, whether it be a career, getting married, having children,
mhm,
retiring, your kids moving out of the house, being empty nesters. These are all huge pivots in your life that you're like, what's next? What's going to fill this void? Don't stop believing. I should have put that lyric in my in my book.
No, it's real. It's real. Like, I always tell people you have to be your own cheerleader. Sometimes you have this IMX vision and not everybody's going to see it. But you got to keep being
Mhm.
that cheerleader for yourself. Even if the rough days when you feel like, oh, what am I doing this for? And eventually it all falls in place. Just like this affirmation said,
Yes.
everything is working. And like the alchemist says, the universe is working for you, you know, and conspiring for your best, the best things for you. So, we just got to continue to keep believing. And then on top of that, um, I had a question in regards to like if you weren't dancing, if you weren't writing a book, what'd be another talent that you would have had tapped into?
Ooh. Hmm. That's a great question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that.
I know there's a secret
Let's
talent.
see. Well, I'm definitely a creative at heart, artist. And I think that was the biggest fear was that, I'm gonna be stuck at a desk working 9 to 5 and my brain's gonna melt and I'm like not gonna be able to do anything I love. And so it would have definitely been something creative. And as Pisces, I don't know if this is a Pisces thing, and I think it is, but there's so many things I've explored, like cake decorating, dog training, being a health coach, all sorts of different things that I've dipped my toe in, and I like hyper focus on that thing for like 6 months to a year, and then I get bored, and I'm like, okay, I'm
Pisces
bored.
thing. We get bored back because it's like we master it, we get good at it. It's like okay, on to the next thing. Yeah, we
Check.
love, yeah,
Yeah.
we love knowledge and we just love to create and we and like you said the spark we need that spark to fill us up
Mhm.
and
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, so but I know you have a hidden talent. You have like so many layers of you. I know there's a secret talent in there somewhere. So
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll have to I'm like, "Do I dare explore more?" I'm like, "Do I have the mental bandwidth to explore more? I don't know."
no, I mean you're good at this amazing book that you created, speaking and touching lives, and The last thing right now I wanted to ask you was, in this moment in your life, accomplishing the book, accomplishing and speaking all over the globe, what do you feel in this moment in your life is your life's purpose? Do you see it clearer
Mm.
now than you did before, or is it
I
evolving?
definitely it's kind of a little bit of both. It's evolving. I'm seeing more clearly, and I'm seeing more clearly as I take more action.
Mm,
Because the action is what's defeating the fear or the doubts, which is inevitable. We're human. It's going to come. Just
yeah.
expect that it will come, and then just do it anyway. Push through it anyway. But I'm definitely seeing more clearly confirmation
Mm,
that I'm like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. And also confirmation because I used to get bored at so many other things. This is not boring at all. Like this is none of this. I'm like, wow, I can create a new keynote if I get bored with my keynote. And I
yes.
I by the way, I add magic and stuff. So I'm like, I can add my entertainment dance elements to my keynotes, which is so fun. And I could constantly be using that creativity. How can I put package this message where it's even more memorable for the audience to be able to use it. Because you go to these conferences and you're like, sometimes you're watching speakers for like 10 hours, right? And
Yeah.
you're like, you walk away with like 5% of it. And
Yeah.
how much do you really implement from that 5% that you even remember? And it's usually like very little, if any, right? You're like, "Oh, I'm gonna put all that into action. I'm so excited." And then you get home and then
It's
life
gone.
happens, right? So
But that
I get it.
thing
And I go ahead, go ahead.
that I said that you have to leave that lasting impression because you got that small window of time to catch that lasting impression for them
Yes.
at the TikTok. But when you bring out those flames, though, talk to us on how you even incorporate that into it.
Yes, so I was, after I was a dancer,
Uh huh.
I pivoted to specialty acts with fire and snakes and angle grinders and special effects, and I'm like, "Okay, the doctor's not gonna tell me I have to stop performing, like, I'm gonna do something." And so I'm like, I've always loved fire, even as a kid. I'm like just touching candles, putting my hand in the fireplaces, and freaked my mom out all the time. Fire. And so that was a big thing I wanted to do. I'm like, I want to learn how to eat fire. I want to learn how to dance with fire. And so I'm like, I love fire. Like, how can I put that into my talk?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been incorporated, even if it's just a match, it's a visual. It's like and next time someone lights a match, they're going to think of that message that I attached to it. They're like, huh. And maybe they're with someone that's you know what? That match reminded me of that talk. This girl talked about that message. Let me tell you about it. And
Mm,
that's just more of that ripple that I can almost like let it down, like you're downloading what you're watching just by the prop sometimes. And so I've really enjoyed incorporating like the magic and the fire and all that into the message to help
well,
it stand out.
thank you for all that you do. You are a magical person yourself. So, you are magical.
Thank you.
This book is magical and it's touching lives already. And I really encourage everyone to please purchase the book on Amazon, number one bestseller on Amazon. Make sure that you support the book and support everything that she has going on. And you can also follow her on Instagram at Priscilla.Pfeiffer on Instagram and go on Amazon. Buy 5, 6 books. Buy it for a present. Everybody needs a book. Buy it for the school.
Yes.
So make sure you support it. We love everything that you're doing, and I'm so proud of you.
Mm,
And also, as a fellow Pisces, it's always love. It's
yes.
always lots and
Yes.
lots of love. So I'm proud of you, and I might order some more books. I'm gonna have a book
Woohoo.
have a book talk and stuff. And are you open to do like virtual book talks and stuff with people in their groups and stuff? Are you open to that?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be open to that.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna try to work on that, but I truly appreciate you and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Definitely. And you heard it first. Make sure that you get the book. And remember, life might throw you a curveball, but you're always in charge of the direction it goes. And you already know you do matter. And make sure you pick up the book. And we'll see you next time on the next episode. And we'll be talking more about self-discovery.